MoneyWeb Now. On the money.
Chatting now with Wayne Abramson, CEO at ATM Solutions. Wayne, appreciate the time. I'm one of those old school folks who's always got some cash in my wallet, but I'm always surprised by data. And you put out a note talking around recent data. South Africans use cash. 87% of South Africans are still using cash for some, if not all, of their payments. I mean, it has a significant role to continue playing in our economy.
Yes, good morning, Simon, and thanks for having me on the show. As you say, some interesting facts to come out of the recent SARB payment study as far as consumer behaviour is concerned. That 87% of South Africans still use cash as the primary payment choice. And cash makes up around 56% of payment volumes, although it represents 21% of overall payment value. And yeah, debit cards have the majority in terms of value, which talks to a higher basket size on card, which one would expect. And as many as 94% of South Africans draw cash monthly, with a third withdrawing all the deposited funds at once, and over half the population access cash at ATMs. So South Africans still rely heavily on cash. Historically, cash growth has largely followed GDP growth, although that changed somewhat following COVID, where cash demand declined marginally. But cash is still very widely used, and for many good reasons. Cash is trusted, both for the payer and the recipient. It's widely accepted, it's cheap to use, it's private, it supports financial inclusion for those who don't have access to digital services, and it's resilient when digital systems go down, etc. So is the end of cash near? The answer is no.
I take your point in that, and particularly, I mean, the end of cash near, not at all. I mean, we're seeing a rise in fintech and multiple payment different solutions, but they often cases lack that elegance of an easy payment of cash. And part of the challenge of cash, perhaps, or one of the challenges it has, is it's not cheap. Drawing from an ATM in many cases can be an expensive process, or you have to simply get to an ATM. I'm thinking of someone in a rural area with perhaps a state pension. It's that access and cost that is perhaps one of the hindrances in the cash payment space.
Yes, I think this is where independent operators like ourselves have an important part to play. You might have seen in recent media that the number of bank ATMs has in fact reduced by 4,000 or so over the last few years, as well as many bank branches. But independent payments companies such as ATM Solutions, which consumers will know as Cash Express, are stepping up to fill the gap, ensuring that cash remains within reach for all, including the underserved. We were mandated by the SARB as an independent clearing system participant last year, which allows us direct access into the national payment system and which significantly enhances our ability to drive financial inclusion more broadly without having to work via a bank or a third party. As far as the cost of accessing cash is concerned, cash withdrawals have actually become more affordable in many instances, with some of the biggest banks no longer charging their clients a SASWITCH network fee. So customers aren't paying extra in certain instances to withdraw from other ATMs, including our own. So consumer education is important. There is a disconnect between perceptions of ATM withdrawal costs versus a reality of who levies fees, which in many cases is actually your own bank trying to keep you within its own ecosystem. So this ultimately drives consumer choice. Our goal is to empower consumers with the tools they need to transact in the way that best suits them, whether it's through cash, digital platforms, or a combination of both. So that's particularly important in the underserved areas. We might be the only point of presence in an underserved area, and without that, consumers would have to take a taxi to travel to access cash, which obviously becomes more costly.
And that's an important point, an important role that you play. I mean, I will pull up to a petrol station here in Johannesburg, Rosebank, and see ATMs from 3 or 4 different banks, and I just scratch my head. I mean, that can't be efficient. In the more rural areas, it's absolutely not, and no one bank's going to go in. Hence, an independent such as yourself sort of solves for that problem.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right, Sam.
We'll leave it there. That's Wayne Abramson. He's CEO, ATM Solutions. Appreciate the early morning time. That's it for today. We're chatting with Matete Tulare from RMB yesterday. We're talking the US jobs data.